What is going on, basketball fans? Today we're back with another NBA mock draft. This time we got the full first round for you guys today, and we're going to be coming out with more of these mock drafts here before the actual NBA draft here coming up. So make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new. We also do a ton of college basketball stuff here on the channel, college football stuff starting soon, just a bunch of good stuff here on the channel. You don't want to miss it, so subscribe. And yeah, guys, leave a like if you guys enjoy, and let me know if you guys like who I picked for your team. Let's get started. First up, we do have the Atlanta Hawks. Now, this is an interesting one. A lot of people have been debating, are they going to trade this pick? Are they going to... Who are they going to pick with this back? Could it be Alex Sarr? I think is kind of the favorite to go here in this position, but also some people looking at Reza Shea here to go as well. Maybe has the higher ceiling. I would say Alex Sarr probably has the lower floor, but Reza Shea has the higher ceiling. Now, if you are going to run it back with this core, like you're keeping Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, everybody, you already have a guy like DeAndre Hunter, and then you also have Jalen Johnson off the bench. So if you are running it back with this group here, yeah, you could take Reza Shea and have him play power forward. I don't think that would necessarily be a bad choice, and then you probably keep Jalen Johnson and maybe trade DeAndre Hunter, or even just have one of them come off the bench, or have Reza Shea come off the bench, which doesn't really make a lot of sense for me. Or you go with Alex Sarr, which I think makes more sense here. He could honestly probably start right away over Clint Capella. He still has a very high ceiling and a low floor. Like, he has the potential to shoot three-pointers as well. He's already hitting them a little bit here and there. I think that he could wound up being a similar player to like a Evan Mobley. And I think in this draft class, when he has such a low floor, and this is a player that is going to help Atlanta right away. They want to be back in the playoffs next year. This is not your typical number one team picking at the first pick. They want to be winning again next year. They don't want to take the time to develop a guy, all the way up. I feel like Alex Sarr is the safest pick to do that, especially if they're keeping the core of their team that they have. Next up, we got the Wizards. Now, the Wizards is another interesting pick. Now, you could say, do they go with the best player available, which is probably Reza Shea, as far as potential goes, right? Reza Shea's got the most potential, but is that really what the Wizards want to do here, given how much talent and potential, superstar potential is in next year's draft class? The Wizards are not going to be good again next year, no matter who they take here. But I think with how bad their defense was last year, and that big hole that they have at center, or they can't run it back with like Marvin Bagley and them, as they traded Daniel Gatford down to Dallas, who's going to be playing in the NBA Finals here soon. Yeah, they just cannot run it back with them. I think you got to go Klingon. You could say it's a reach. It's definitely a reach when it comes to my big board, but I think in a draft where there's not a ton of potential superstars, I really like Donovan Klingon here, as again, like Alex Sarr, he's got kind of a low floor. He's going to be great defensively, be an anchor for that team down low. He's going to be great in the pick and roll with guys like Jordan Poole. I think you got to take Donovan Klingon here. He's really, really going to help that defense, and they're going to be back here picking high in the lottery next year, where they could potentially get like a Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, one of these top-level guys that could potentially turn into a superstar. I think it's way too early to give up on the Jordan Poole experiment to draft a guy like Nikola Topic, so I would go Donovan Klingon here at number 2 if I were the Wizards. If you want to go Reza Shea for a little bit more upside, but I think, again, has a lower floor but a higher ceiling than Klingon, you could go Reza Shea, but I think with Kyle Kuzma still on the team at this point, potentially definitely a guy that could get traded this offseason in Kyle Kuzma. I think they're probably going to bring him back, and I think a front court of Klingon and Kuzma could be a lot of fun. But Reza Shea, they already got guys like Denny at the forward position. Just drafted Balil Coulibaly last year, who could play the small forward position, and I think could develop nicely if they get a better team around him. I feel like Denny and Koulibaly are good potential defenders. Denny kind of already. Koulibaly definitely could be a good defender in this league, especially if they have an anchor down low to help them. It's overall going to improve the team. I like the Klingon pick to the Wizards a lot there. Last time I had them take Topic. I don't like Topic that much anymore. And I said it last time. I think they could go Topic at 2, but honestly, I'm not a big fan of Topic, so I'm not going to have the Wizards take him there at 2. I went with Klingon. I like that pick a lot. Next up, at number 3, you have the Rockets. I mean, with Reza Shea sitting there, it's kind of hard to not take him. But then you got guys like, Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore last year. Are you really ready to move on those guys? I'm a big fan of you should not be afraid to upgrade at a position or upgrade to a player that has a higher potential. Now, do I really think Reza Shea is going to be that much better? It's possible, and he could be a really good fit for this Rockets team. But the guy I decided to go with, I went Dillingham last time. I honestly think Rob Dillingham would be a good fit for the Rockets. I feel like he would probably be the sixth man behind Fred VanVleet for a year or two. But a lot of people seem to be like, no, that's stupid. Why would you waste a number 3 pick on a guy who's going to be your sixth man? Well, think about it. Like, Rob Dillingham is the best scoring guard in this draft class, in my opinion. So you have him come off the bench, still get a ton of minutes. I mean, it's possibility he could be in the race for sixth man of the year his rookie season, which would be insane. And that would be a key piece to have. A guy who can play make and score off the bench for that Rockets team. I feel like they're missing that, but a lot of people didn't like that pick, that role for the number 3 overall pick, so I decided to go with Reed Sheppard. I feel like this is a more popular pick for the Rockets, but I feel like it does a similar thing. It gives them another scorer, a lot like what Rob Dillingham could be, but Reed Sheppard, like Dillingham, is also a good playmaker, and he's probably the better shooter, or the guy who's going to translate to the league better as a shooter. So I went with Reed Sheppard there to the Rockets. Now with San Antonio, you have your choice between the 2 point guards. If you want to go there now, make sure you get your guy on lock, or maybe push it a little bit to 8. There are other good guards on the board like Rob Dillingham, Nikola Topic, but then you still got guys like Stephon Castle down the board. You're going to get one of those at 8. I feel like you can't pass up on Zachary Reza Shea here. An amazing forward guy from France, going to be able to play with Wemby really well. I feel like you cannot pass on Reza Shea at 4. If he's there, I feel like this is the lowest Reza Shea goes. If he is there at 4, the San Antonio Spurs definitely take him. The Hawks could take him number 1. Wizards could take him number 2. And honestly, if he falls to number 3, it wouldn't surprise me if the Rockets just went ahead and take him. If they're that high on him, they think he's going to be really good, he could definitely go number 3 to the Rockets. But if he doesn't go 4, the Pistons are really hoping he slips to 5 somehow. That would be like their perfect fit. For the Pistons, I see a lot of people drafting Buzelis. They're saying he's going to translate to a really good shooter in the league, but he shot like 27% for G League Ignite. Like, in that ball range. It was definitely in the 20s of 3-point percentage. I don't think that's necessarily a good fit for the Pistons. The Pistons desperately need someone who is going to stretch the floor and at the wing position. Now, I am a lot higher on this guy than this draft board is, as he is down the board here at 11. But this is a guy that I went with for the Pistons last time, a guy that I don't think it's a reach to draft him at 5, and that's Cody Williams. I think 5 is definitely like the perfect range for him to go, a guy who shoots 40% from behind the arc, a more proven shooter than Buzelis, and a guy with a ton of potential on offense and defense. I feel like Cody Williams has a really good floor where he is going to be an amazing 3-and-D player, and he has a ceiling to be as good as his brother, J-Dub, on the Thunder, if not even better than him. So I really like him. Super young still, 19 years old, 40% from the three-point line. I really like Cody Williams a lot. I like him more than Montez Buzelis, so I have the Pistons taking him there at number 5. At number 6, we do have the Charlotte Hornets, and I really like Stephon Castle for them. I really like them to get somebody who can play alongside LaMelo there at the shooting guard position and fill out that backcourt. I feel like Stephon Castle would be the perfect choice because he can play defense. Last time I had them take Reed Shepherd, which I also think would be a really good fit if he does fall to number 6. But with him off the board, I feel like Stephon Castle honestly may be a better fit. He is the guy who is going to play excellent defense at the shooting guard position next to LaMelo. He is not the best three-point shooter right away, but he definitely has three-point upside. I mean, throughout the tournament, I'm a big college basketball guy. On UConn, teams were forcing him to shoot, and whenever they were forcing him to shoot, leaving Stephon Castle open, he was knocking them down throughout the tournament. UConn ended up winning the national championship. Stephon Castle, big reason why. He's going to be a hustle player. I definitely feel like his floor could be like a Derek White, but without the jumper. Definitely going to be your hustle kind of guy, but I think he will develop that jumper. I feel like he will be a really good player, especially next to LaMelo Ball. Definitely could translate well as the Hornets try to work their way back to the playoffs probably next year with a healthy LaMelo Ball. Next up, we do have the Portland Trail Blazers. Both those really good guards still on the board. I know they are slipping, and I've been one to say I feel like the two top guards, Dillingham and Topic, who are like 1A, 1B for me, honestly. I think Rob Dillingham's slightly better. I'm kind of, in the minority there because a lot of people think Topic is better. I think Dillingham is going to be better. But it's very close. But they're both falling here. Portland definitely does not want to go point guard here with them still having, of course, drafting Scoot Henderson last year. They still got Anthony Simmons. They still got all these guards, man. And Shaedon Sharpe. All these guards still on their team. They don't want to give up on these guys yet. I don't think they're going Dillingham or Topic. This definitely could be a trade-up spot for somebody who wants to jump San Antonio and take one of these guards off the boards, whether it's Dillingham or Topic. If they want to jump the Spurs, because the Spurs are definitely taking one of these guys at 8, this would be a key trade down spot. But I think they could trade down, but I'm not doing trades in this mock draft, so I am going to have them take Matez Buzelis. I think that they need a wing. Buzelis definitely a guy who is really athletic, 6'10" wing. They're saying he's going to develop a three-point shot because he shot really good in high school, did not shoot good for the Ignite last year, which that kind of matters to me. And that's why I just don't assume he's just going to have a jump shot. But I definitely think that Portland here, this is their best player available outside of the guards, which they don't need guards. So if they don't trade down here, I feel like Buzelis is definitely going to be the pick here at 7. Now San Antonio Spurs, they get their pick between Topic and Dillingham. I personally am higher on Dillingham, but I feel like the Spurs would take, the European guy from Serbia. I mean, come on, it'd be another European guard for Popovich to kind of coach there. He coached Tony Parker. Makes a lot of sense. They might think he has some more potential. A guy that definitely has better playmaking than Dillingham, which they might want a guy to playmake around Wemby, and now their new forward, Zachary Reed-Zache, to be their scorers. So Topic definitely going to come into the league and be a great passer right away. And the shot can develop. Is he that great of a defender? Not really. Probably a slightly better defender than Rob Dillingham at 6'7", but with Wemby behind him, probably going to be DPOY next year. They'll probably be okay. Next up with the Grizzlies at number 9, they definitely need a center, right? They are a team that is going to be ready, a lot like the Hawks. They want to jump into the playoffs next year. They don't want to be in the lottery next year. They don't want to be top 10 again next year. So for the Grizzlies, they really, really need a center, and they could go with Rob Dillingham, who is definitely the best player on the board. They could go with a guy like Ron Holland, who I think, although he doesn't have the best three-point shot right now, definitely a guy that could help you win right away. And wow, the guy that I'm actually going with is higher on the board than I thought. I'm actually going to reach a little bit here. I don't think it's that big of a reach, but I'm going to go with Zach Edey here. to the Memphis Grizzlies. I know a lot of you guys are probably going to be like, no way Zach Edey goes top 10 in the NBA draft. But I kind of like Zach Edey, man. He's definitely been working on that jumper. He is a very good free throw shooter. He can score in the post, and he can definitely pick and roll. And he is a great defender down low, which is what the Grizzlies were missing. And above all that, I believe he's got the NBA body ready. So he is going to be able to come in and help the Grizzlies win right away. So let me know, Grizzlies fans, if, Sarr definitely going to be off the board. If Klingen's off the board, if you guys don't trade him, get Klingen. Are you guys happy with Zach Edey at 9? Me personally, I think that I would be happy if I was the Grizzlies fan. I think this is going to help you guys get back to the playoffs right away with Ja Morant coming back, Jaren Jackson Jr. This is, honestly, the perfect 5 to run next to Jaren Jackson Jr. because him and Jaren Jackson both can rim protect. That would be a very good defensive front court there for the Memphis Grizzlies. So maybe a reach, but I like that pick a ton for Memphis, going with Zach Edey. Next up, we do have the Utah Jazz. And for the Jazz here, I know that they do have Colin Sexton, and they did just draft Keontae George. But Keontae George, didn't play all that great. And with Rod Dillingham, I feel like it's too much potential at this point in the draft to pass up on Dillingham at 10. Yes, Utah, they did just draft Keontae George, but I feel like they are in a position where they're not just going to bank on a guy. They want to get the most potential they can. I got Dillingham going 10 here to the Jazz. Next up, we do have the Chicago Bulls. And I feel like there's a clear guy that if he is available, they are going to go, and that is Ron Holland. They need a wing. I'm higher on Ron Holland than I am Dalton Knecht. I feel like they're both really good players, but I really, really, really like Ron Holland, and he's another guy, he needs to develop a jumper, but I feel like he could play really well against guys like Lonzo, play really well with guys like Lonzo, with guys like Ayo, with guys like Kobe White, of course. I feel like DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, I feel like Chicago's probably going to move on from them. They're going to need some wings. How about Ron Holland? I feel like it would be a great piece for them. Next up, we do have Oklahoma City Thunder, and I am actually going to go with Dalton Knecht here to the Thunder. I feel like it makes a lot of sense. He is a guy who can come off the bench for them. This is an OKC team that was just the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. They're a very young team. They're ready to compete. So drafting a guy like this who is a bona fide scoring stud out of college, who was a senior, he's going to be more NBA ready to come off the bench. I feel like they could use a backup wing to come off the bench. I feel like this is the perfect spot here for Dalton Knecht to come in and make an impact off the bench here at number 12. I feel like this makes a ton of sense. Easy pick there for the Thunder if Knecht is still on the board. Same if Ron Holland. Either one of those, interchangeable, honestly. I feel like either way, no matter who Chicago went, OKC would take the other guy. I feel like that makes a ton of sense. Sacramento Kings here at number 13. Definitely a interesting pick here, but I went with the same guy I went with last time. I feel like it makes a ton of sense. I feel like he is one of the best shooters in this draft class, and that is Jared McCain. Jared McCain, I was watching him throughout the tournament at Duke, man, and really all year long at Duke, but especially in the tournament, he turned it to another notch and was just lacing threes. Every time he shot, it really did seem like it was going in. I feel like Jared McCain makes a lot of sense here next to De'Aaron Fox. They need a shooter. Kevin Huerter kind of took a down step. They need a guy to fill that shooting guard role, especially with Malik Monk being a free agent. They could bring him back. He's the 6th man of the year. But if they don't, they're definitely going to need a shooting guard. I feel like Jared McCain could be that guy. Portland here at number 14. I went with an interesting pick, a guy that I'm a lot higher on than most. I feel like is going to be an impact NBA player, but this board, he is down here at 26, and that is Khalil Ware. I feel like Khalil Ware probably going to be your backup for DeAndre Ayton, honestly, But I feel like, honestly, in a year, maybe two, if not right off the rip, honestly, Khalil Ware could overtake DeAndre Ayton and be your starting center. He is a guy who is going to stretch the floor. He's your modern big, man. Your modern big. Yes, he can score in the post, but he can stretch the floor and shoot threes. Perfect modern big. I feel like this would be a perfect pick here for Portland. And with them already taking Buzelis, I really like this Khalil Ware pick. Yes, you could say it is a reach, and they could go with a guy like Collier, who's a guard, Walker, or Jacoby Walter, who's a guard. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't really like Cal Filipowski that much. Devin Carter would be interesting, but he is still a guard. And you already took Montes Buzelis. I feel like Khalil Ware is honestly my center forward behind Alex Sarr, Klingon, Zach Edey. Next is Khalil Ware. I feel like 14's not too crazy. Last time I had him going 12 to OKC and being the backup to Chet. So I feel like 14 is not crazy for Khalil Ware. I feel like he is going to be a very impactful NBA player as a modern big. Next up, we do have the Miami Heat, and I do have them taking Isaiah Collier. Isaiah Collier was the number 1 recruit coming out of high school last year, and he honestly had a good season. I'm not really sure why his draft stock tanked so much. It's probably because of the three-point shooting. I feel like Isaiah Collier could definitely develop a three-point shot, and he is a great defender as well. 6'4" point guard, good playmaker. Come on, man. I feel like the Heat, who need a point guard, this is going to be a perfect landing spot for him. If anybody's going to get the most potential out of Isaiah Collier, it is going to be the Miami Heat, and he could honestly turn into a superstar there, to be honest. Next up, we do have the Philadelphia 76ers, and there's a guy that I'm eyeing up for them who would be perfect, and that is Devin Carter. Look at him, man. Pretty much 9 boards a game as a guard. Insane. I feel like this is the exact kind of piece that Philadelphia needs to surround Tyrese Maxey there. He can play a shooting guard position next to Maxey. And with Embiid having a hustle player who's going to play defense at the 2 guard, he is an excellent three-point shooter who can shoot from deep. He can play make a little bit as your shooting guard. He's going to give you a ton of boards as a guard, an amazing rebounding guard. What a player Devin Carter is going to be. I feel like Philadelphia would be an excellent fit for him. Next up at 17, we do have the New Orleans Pelicans, and straight potential here. I feel like you got to go Jacoby Walter. I feel like they could honestly probably use another guard, and Jacoby Walter, a ton of potential. I'm not as high on him as some people, but I feel like 17 here to the Pelicans definitely makes a lot of sense here for Walter. Number 18, we do have the Orlando Magic, and for the Orlando Magic, they are a team that definitely needs some shooting. They're a lot like the Pistons almost, except somehow Orlando was winning games, and they were the 5 seed in the East, but Orlando desperately needs shooting. I don't think they're going to survive another year without stretching the floor, so I went with one of the best shooters still available in Johnny Furphy. I feel like this makes a lot of sense. He definitely has a shot that is ready. You might need to develop him a little bit, but this Orlando team is young. You need to get a good shooter, and I feel like Johnny Furphy was the best choice on the board for them for that reason. I think they definitely need a 2 guard there. There's rumors about them getting guys like Klay Thompson, maybe a Malik Monk in free agency. I think either way, Johnny Furphy could come off the bench for them and definitely develop behind them. Next up, we do have the Toronto Raptors, and I ended up going with Kevin McCullar for them. Kevin McCullar, definitely a player I could see fitting in well with this Raptors team, sliding into that 3 position. They do have Scotty Barnes, but he's honestly a guy that could play the 2, the 3, or the 4. He is former teammates with Grady Dick there. You're going to have that connection. He's a really good rebounder for his size. He's a really good playmaker for his size. And honestly, his shot is a lot better than you would think. He was the best player on Kansas last year. It wasn't Hunter Dickinson. It definitely wasn't Johnny Furphy. It was either him or probably Dejon Harris Jr., their point guard. But yeah, Kevin McCullar, he's really nice. He's got the shot. Look out for him. Next up, Cleveland Cavaliers here at number 20. I ended up going with where is he at? Oh, Tajane Saloon. I'm definitely saying that name wrong, from France, but he is a guy who has gotten a lot of hype lately. I definitely need to watch more film on him. He could go higher than this, but from what I've seen, he could definitely be a player here for the Cavs that could plug in as the backup in the backup front court, which the Cavs definitely need. So I like that pick there for them. A guy that has a ton of potential. I definitely like him. Honestly, I need to look into him more, but I like him more than Kyle Filipowski. Him and Tyler Smith are probably going to be battling for that spot because Tyler Smith could go to the Cavs there 100%. Next up, we do have the New Orleans Pelicans again, actually, and I have them taking Tristan da Silva. Tristan da Silva is a guy who is a bucket getter, good rebounder, definitely can develop a shot. He's got a little bit of a shot. I feel like it's probably not NBA ready, but he can develop a shot. If he was, not a senior in college, I feel like he would probably go higher, but I really do like Tristan da Silva's game. He is going here at 21 to New Orleans. Next up, we do have the Phoenix Suns, and I have them taking one of the best playmakers in this draft, if not the best playmaker. They need a point guard desperately. I know Suns fans will tell you Devin Booker is their point guard, and he played point guard last year, but come on, man. Devin Booker needs to play the shooting guard position, and I feel like the big problem with the Suns is Devin Booker and Bradley Beal kind of do the same thing, into thinking that they were just going to pair up, keep doing what they were doing. And for it to work is just kind of crazy. They need a true point guard on this team, and Tyler Kolek can definitely be that. He is going to come in and play make. Honestly, maybe the best playmaker in this draft. It's either him or Nikola Topic, and I like Tyler Kolek's game a lot. He has a three-point shot as well that he can definitely utilize, and he has amazing finishing ability at the rim. He is some of the best layups in college basketball. I'll put it there. Next up here at 23, the Milwaukee Bucks. We are going to have them select Tyler Smith. I talked about him a little bit earlier. He could definitely go over a guy, the guy that Cleveland took there, and Slagine, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, to be honest, just yet. But Tyler Smith, very good player, definitely a power forward who projects to be a really good shooter, decent shooter for G League Ignite this past year. I definitely could see him being a stretch four, playing behind Giannis, playing behind guys like Bobby Portis. Definitely a guy that the Bucks could use. Next up, we do have the New York Knicks, and with this first pick, I think they got to go with one of the better centers still available on the board in Yves Missy from Baylor. I feel like they're going to need to get somebody big man, because I'm not sure if they are going to pay Isaiah Hartenstein, who is going to be a free agent. He's going to be expecting a little bit of money this year. So if they don't decide to bring him back, Missy could be his replacement. Obviously, you have Mitchell Robinson coming back from injury, and then you're going to have Julius Randle at the 4. You're going to need some backups, though. Missy could definitely be that. So I feel like with one of these back-to-back picks that the New York Knicks have, they will go center. And then with my other pick, I actually do have the New York Knicks going with Terrence Shannon Jr., who is a little bit down the board here on this one. I have him a little bit higher, but a really good bucket getter, 23 points per game for Illinois this past year. He's got really good defense. He's got a three-point shot. Honestly, he's a lot lower than I expected him to be on the board. He's higher on mine, like I said, but I think he translates really good as a 3-and-D player in the NBA. He's not going to be a superstar, but you're picking at 25 here. To get a 3-and-D guy, that would be pretty solid. And you guys know Tibbs. He loves his defense. I feel like 3-and-D guy, that would be a perfect fit there for the New York Knicks. Next up, we do have the Washington Wizards. I am a Wizards fan, and I am actually going to go with Bub Carrington out of Pitt. I feel like potential-wise, this is where you go a little bit potential. You went a little bit safer with the number 2 pick, went Donovan Clingan, a guy with a pretty low floor, going to be the anchor of that defense, going to pick and roll with Jordan Poole, and going to pick and roll now with Bub Carrington. He's a guy at Pitt that did have a couple of triple-doubles this year. Got a ton of upside as a playmaker, as a rebounding guard, defensive guard, and he can score as well. Just has so much upside, and to get him at the end of the first round, I think you got to take a chance on him if you are the Washington Wizards. I know Jordan Poole does play point guard, and he probably will start at point guard this year, but, if he doesn't wind up being the future, you have Bub Carrington there, or you could try to run a duo with Jordan Poole at shooting guard, him at point guard, if you do think he is too good right away to not play. Next up, we do have the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I do actually have them going with a guy that I think is going to be a really good shooter in the league, a guy who is going to be able to back up Anthony Edwards, and that is Jalen Tyson at the shooting guard position. Another guy who can rebound at the guard position. He's going to be a hustle player, 3-and-D player. I feel like the Minnesota, he fits that mold. He's going to play hard defense, and Jalen Tyson can shoot the 3 ball. So to have some shooting coming off the bench, that would be very, very clutch. I feel like they need a backup guy at the wing position, and Jalen Tyson can definitely be that for them. Next up, we do have the Denver Nuggets. I actually ended up going with a player that I loved watching in college, who is really down the board here, unless I did pass him. I'm looking for Darren Holmes, but honestly, I'm not seeing Darren Holmes. Oh, wow, down at 50 is insane. Way higher on Darren Holmes. Loved watching him play in college at Dayton. 20 points per game, 8 boards a game. Such a beast. He can come in there, be a backup big for either Jokic or Aaron Gordon. He can play alongside Jokic. Very good player. I love Darren Holmes. Cannot believe he is 50th on this big board. I project him to go into the first round around this spot. Insane that he is that low, honestly. But Darren Holmes, have him going to the Denver Nuggets. Definitely would be an excellent pickup there for them at the end of the first round. Utah Jazz here at 29. Again, I feel like they are going to go with potential. And one of my favorite guys out of Weber State that was just filling up the stat sheet this past year. Super fun player to watch as a college basketball guru. Dylan Jones. Dylan Jones filled up the stat sheet offensively, defensively. I'm pretty sure he led his team in every single statistical category: points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, everything, man. Although it was Weber State, same college that Damian Lillard went to. High potential here at the end of the first round. That's what the Jazz need to go for. Dylan Jones is who they go with. Next up, we do have the Boston Celtics, and I did actually end up having them go with Kyle Filipowski. But on second thought, I'm honestly not too high on Filipowski. I don't think he's that great defensively, which is why I don't think Boston specifically would want to take him. I'm actually going to have them go with a guy that I like a little bit better to fit on the Celtics with this last pick in the first round. And honestly, I don't even see him on here. I'm looking for Oso Igudaro, a.k.a. Iggy, who would be honestly a really good fit for the Celtics off the bench. But I'm not seeing him on this draft board. So I guess I'm going to give them Kyle Filipowski, but I will say real quick, I think Oso Igudaro would be an excellent fit for the Celtics. I don't think Kyle Filipowski is going to fall out of the first round, so I think the Celtics picking him up, to be a backup center there wouldn't be a bad choice. He's definitely could come in and hustle, get some boards. I don't think Kyle Filipowski is going to be that good. I think Oso Iguodala would be the better fit because he plays defense. He can be like a Grant Williams-esque power forward for them. But, Kyle Filipowski at 30, definitely not bad for a value pick. I'm just honestly not high on Kyle Filipowski at all. But let me know what you guys think about my mock draft down below. Do you like who I picked for your team? Do you like who I went with for these teams in general? Let me know down below in the comment section. Do you guys want to see a mock draft with trades next time, or would you guys prefer it, with the actual order like this one for our next mock draft? Let me know down below in the comment section. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.